Imagine a situation where someone asks you a tough and uncomfortable question. You immediately start to worry, feel uneasy, and struggle to find the right words, which makes the situation even more awkward. Today, we'll discuss how to respond to such tricky and often unpleasant questions while keeping your confidence intact and maintaining composure. Method number 1. The first strategy is known as the bore method. Whenever you hear a question that makes you uncomfortable or seems inappropriate, your goal is to respond in a way that is overly detailed, drawn out, and slightly off topic, until the person eventually forgets what they even asked in the first place. Of course, I wouldn't recommend using this technique in situations where expertise is required, as it might seem odd or out of place. However, for intrusive or toxic questions like, "So, when are you finally getting married?" this approach works surprisingly well. Example: "When are you going to get married? You're a great person, but you're already over 30, right?" A typical response might be something like, "I'm still searching," or "I haven't found the right one yet." But instead, you can say, "You know, marriage is such an interesting topic. Did you know that, according to statistics, 7 out of 10 marriages today end in divorce? What's your opinion on that? Is it a normal trend or something we should worry about?" I've been thinking a lot about what actually makes a marriage last long term. Oh, and by the way, I recently came across an article that says the best way to choose a life partner is based on zodiac signs. Apparently, Sagittariuses are a risky choice, but Virgos are ideal. What's your sign? From here, you can keep expanding on the topic endlessly, leading the conversation away from the original, intrusive question. Essentially, you turn the person and their question into a training exercise for your conversational skills. So, if you want to avoid answering directly, use the bore method. However, if you're faced with a question related to your professional field and don't have an immediate answer, you can always respond honestly with, "That's a great question. At the moment, I don't have a definite answer, but I'll need some time to prepare a well-thought-out response." And that's completely okay. Method number 2. The second method involves using humor, but only if you feel comfortable making jokes. A well-placed joke can be an excellent way to deflect an uncomfortable question, but it's best to have some pre-prepared responses in mind. An awkward silence after a failed joke could make things even more uncomfortable. For instance, "Hey, how much did your jacket cost? It looks expensive. Must be designer." Instead of giving a straightforward answer, you could say something like, "Oh, I had to survive on instant noodles for a whole month to afford it, but at least I look stylish now." This way, you give a response, but at the same time, you don't actually reveal anything specific. A person who can joke effectively always seems to be a step ahead in the conversation. Generally, humor, sarcasm, and witty remarks are indicators of intelligence and quick thinking. So, if you have this skill, use it to your advantage. In one of my upcoming videos, I'll be breaking down the structure of crafting a joke that can be used as a universal response to difficult questions. So, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Method number 3. The third approach is called the stone face technique. When someone asks a deeply personal or even painful question, something about your family, finances, future plans, or anything sensitive, you have every right to respond with an absolutely blank, emotionless expression. At the same time, you can add a touch of humor, sarcasm, or irony to your response to make it even more effective. For example, "So, when are you having a second child?" Response with a stone face: "A second child? Never in my life. I wouldn't risk it." Say it with a completely serious tone, and then just sit back and watch the reaction. Method number 4. Another clever way to handle uncomfortable questions is turning it into a request for advice. If someone asks you a provocative question about your career, finances, or personal life, such as, "Why are you still working at that company? They barely pay you anything. When are you going to quit?" Or, "When will you finally start charging more for your services?" You can flip the conversation by agreeing with them and then asking for their input. "You know, that's actually a really good point. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think is the best way for me to transition to a new job?" Or, "That's a fair question. I'd love to raise my rates, but I'm curious. How would you approach it if you were in my position?" This response does 3 things. It keeps the conversation open, it gets you useful outside perspectives, and it subtly shifts the focus back onto the person asking. Method number 5. The next technique is called generalizing the specific, or specifying the general. When someone asks you a direct question, you don't always have to answer it directly. Instead, you can reframe it in broader terms. For example, so do you even get promotions at your company, or are you stuck at the bottom? Rather than answering with yes or no, you could say, well, compared to other industries and taking into account recent market trends, my field is actually in a pretty good position. In fact, I've been exploring new ways to advance and improve my financial situation. You've answered, but you haven't given away any concrete details. And that's important because too much personal information can sometimes be used against you in unexpected ways. Method number 6. Another effective approach is referencing an external source. For example, why are you quitting your job? You've worked there for so many years. Did something happen? Instead of diving into personal reasons, you can rely on external research to support your response. I actually read a really interesting study recently, and I completely agree with its findings. It said that the 3 most important factors in job satisfaction are the work environment, salary, and the level of personal growth a job offers. Right now, I'm reevaluating all 3 of these aspects, which is why I'm exploring new opportunities. By referencing a study, you sound well informed while also avoiding unnecessary personal details. Method number 7. The 7th method is simply answering a question with another question. Example, when are you finally going to settle down and start a family? Instead of responding directly, you could say, that's an interesting perspective. What does settling down mean to you? What do you think makes a happy and stable family life? At this point, the other person will likely go into a long explanation of their own views, completely shifting the focus of the conversation. Method number 8. The 8th method, which in my experience annoys people the most and discourages them from asking further, is mirroring the question back at them. Example, you spend way too much time at work. That's kind of strange. Response, so if I understand correctly, you believe I dedicate all my time to work, and that's a bad thing? Why do you think that? Suddenly, the person has to justify their own assumptions instead of getting an answer from you. On this channel, I regularly share powerful techniques to help you become a more confident and persuasive communicator. Whether you struggle with speaking up, want to command more respect in conversations, or simply wish to express yourself more effectively, you'll find practical strategies here that you can apply immediately. In upcoming videos, I'll be covering how to avoid appearing weak in conversations, how to assert yourself without coming across as aggressive, and how to master the art of influence to get what you want in any dialogue. If you're serious about improving your communication skills and taking control of your social interactions, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on valuable insights. Your journey to becoming a more confident, articulate, and influential speaker starts now.
Don't forget to subscribe, please.